How are we doing today, folks? Well, the old apple tree finally bit the dust. We had a thunderstorm come through here yesterday, and I guess there was enough wind. It didn't seem like there was a whole lot of heavy wind, but we must have had enough. It blew over. So I've been waiting for this to happen, of course, because it's been rotting and rotting and rotting. As you can see here, I've shown before how the inside was pretty much all gone. Just a little bit of good bark over here. Let me go over to this side, you can see it a little better. Must have still been just a good section of root, because there were some live branches still growing on it, as you can see. And it even had some blossoms earlier in the spring, but then they froze in the late frost, so no fruit to have to worry about. So my plan is I'm going to cut a number of these branch pieces off of here, and I'll see if I can't try to regrow some roots on them and start a new tree from some cuttings. I think they call it a scion. I'm not all that familiar with it. I've never tried to do anything like this before. This is just something that I thought I'd like to try, because this apple tree's been here for, like I said in previous videos, I'm guessing somewhere 150 years. About 150 years. So I'd love to be able to grow another one in the spot where this old tree was, and then just start another generation of the same tree. Just an experiment. Again, I've never done it before. I looked at a couple different videos and websites. Some have one way of doing it, some have another way. So I'm just going to try a number of them, a number of these little branches. I'm going to try a number of different ways. So we'll see how that happens. Probably either it'll be a second video or the second part of this one. I'm not sure yet. We'll see. But I'm going to do that. I have to get them, obviously, before they die. It just came down, so these are all still alive. And I don't know if there's even just a little bit of, there's probably still some roots in the ground on the bottom side there. So they technically could probably live for a while yet. The dead side is the side that is popped up, of course, and I think they hinged on the roots that are still under the ground. So, but we'll see what happens. If I can do that, that'd be great, just because it carries on, the family history here with the tree that was here. And these aren't the greatest apples in the world. They're like a summer Rambo, an old-fashioned variety, but they do make good apple pies, and they come in fairly early, like in August. When we have had fruit on them. I've shown you that in previous videos. So we'll see what we get, but just wanted to give you an update. I've been showing how this thing refused to die and refused to die. Well, this year's storm, of course, it's 2020, so why not? Everything else has been happening this year. So it's finally bit the dust. So I wanted to show that to you today. So thank you for watching. Again, I don't know if I'll have a second part of this video yet or not, or if I'll just do this one and then do a second video. But thank you for watching, and please subscribe to our channel. Alright, we are going to cut a few branches off of this. You can hear my neighbors practicing shooting. Life in the country, gotta love it. I'm going to cut a couple branches off this apple tree now, and we'll start the process of seeing if we can't get them to grow. Now, it's suggested to me you take branches off near the top, since they're the youngest. They might be the easiest to start rooting, rather than ones that might be down further that might be older. So I'm going to take maybe about a foot and a half, and just cut them like this. I'm going to take all the leaves off except maybe the top two. I'll cut the bottom a bit more on an angle, and then I'm going to scrape the bark down there along the bottom a bit, and then stick it in water. We'll try that method first here. So that's one. There's two. Get a couple different places here on the tree. I don't know if that'll make a difference or not. Again, like I said before, this is all an experiment. I've never tried anything like this before. There's a third one. And let's see, we'll come around here. There's a fourth one. I'll pick these up in a minute. Yeah, maybe I'll do 5. There's one up here too. Now again, whether this is going to work, I have no idea, but I will get back to you and give you an update. I'm also going to try to get some off here, hopefully in a day or so before anything dies, if I can get some of that that rooting compound that they suggest and try it that way, putting it in potting soil. So we'll see what works. All right, I'll be back to you with the next phase. All right, continuing on with the experiment here. As you can see, I took one of my branches, I took all the leaves off all the way up to the top. I just left 2 or 3 at the top, which they say you want to do that so that the plant concentrates on making roots rather than supporting leaves. Cut down all the leaves pretty much all the way down through. At the bottom I cut it off again on an angle, and then I just took my pocket knife tip and scraped some of the outer bark off, maybe 3/4 of an inch or so. I don't know exactly how much you're supposed to. And then all I'm going to do is just stick it in the water like that. So I've got 4 more to do. I'll show you the completed results. And the suggestion that was made that I saw was that this be put in a place where it can get light but not direct sunlight. So I'm going to put it in my porch here that faces north. It'll still be next to a window, so we'll get some daylight, but it won't get extreme sun, and I will try to keep it filled with water. And we'll see what happens. Maybe nothing, maybe this will all be dead and worthless, but we'll give it a try. So I'll be back to you. Okay, there we go. We got everything in the water. Everything's cut, pruned, scraped. One thing I do want to mention, with this being an old apple tree, it's a little different than the more modern ones. Most modern apple trees, if you were going to do this from a tree that you had planted or you got at a nursery, you actually have 2 apple trees there, and this is common with other fruit trees too. What they will do is they will start a certain variety of apple, and that's called the rootstock. It's a very hardy, a very robust. It's going to provide the trunk for the tree, but it's a tree that's not going to give you as much fruit as you want. So what they do is then they, after it grows a few years, they will then graft in another variety of apple, perhaps one that you would prefer, obviously the one that you would prefer, so that what you're actually getting is 2 apple trees growing there together. That's why they tell you when you prune your apple trees, if you have some branches coming out very near the trunk, the bottom of the trunk near the ground, that's coming out from the rootstock. You want to trim those off. You don't want those to grow because that's not the variety of apples you're looking for, and it just takes energy away from the plant. But this tree, now people have been grafting apples, I know, for centuries, so it's possible that this was a grafted tree, but I doubt it. There's no way I could tell after 150 years. This may have been just one variety of apple, and that's what it is. So it doesn't really matter where I've taken the branches from. It's all going to be the same kind of apple that I had seen growing there. Obviously from the top it would be. But just to let you know, that's a little different with the modern ones. Your bottom, if you should decide you're going to prune some branches off the bottom of an apple tree and then do this with them, you're going to have a different variety maybe of apple tree that grows than where you took it from, because you're looking at the top of the tree where the other variety was grafted into for the apples you wanted. So just keep that in mind if you do this. So, all right, we'll see how this experiment goes, and I will get back to you. All right, we're ready to try the other method of trying to grow apple trees from branches, from scions. I showed you the other way with just sticking them in the water. Now I'm going to show you a different way that I had seen online, and that is you use this rooting hormone material. This is just something I got at Tractor Supply. I'm sure other places have a similar type of product. It's basically designed to stimulate, I guess, the cells in the plant to produce roots, I would imagine. And it's good for any number of different kind of flowers and shrubs and things like that. So we'll see how it works. So what I've done here is I've taken a branch, exactly like I did with the others, trimmed off all the leaves except for a couple at the top, And then I scrape the bottom a bit with my knife to expose more of the flesh. And then they suggest what you do is you just take the cutting and you stick it down into the rooting hormone just like this, so that it bonds with it. Tap off the excess, and then you just take it and you stick it right into potting soil. So that's what I'm going to do right here, and we'll see what happens. I've got 3 or 4 more here to do, so we'll have a batch of these and we'll see which way works better. This potting soil is already moist. I think it was Miracle-Gro brand if I remember correctly, and I want to keep it moist. Same thing with the other kind, or the other way of doing it. I want to put these where they can get light but not direct sunlight, and we'll see what happens. Now, I won't be able to tell right away whether this is going to root, because unlike the other container, which was clear with water in, I won't be able to see the roots in the soil here. But I guess I'd get an indication if the leaves stay green or if it puts new buds out in the spring. We'll see what happens, see if we get this to work or not. So I'll come back when the rest of these are put in, and you can see what the project will be. So there we go. Everything has been trimmed and coated with the rooting hormone and stuck into the potting soil. I'll put a little more water in this, and then I will stick it in its spot, and we'll see what happens. Is this the second birth of this apple tree, or is this the end? We'll find out probably within a few weeks anyhow. So I'll give you updates on that, and you can see how things go. Just a couple things I was reminded of when I was doing this. The bottom of these, even though it's not that long ago that I cut them off the tree, I cut a new butt end off just before I put it in the rooting hormone, just like I did with the other ones right before I put it in the water. I was suggested to do that, and I remember, years ago, some older gentleman in a flower shop told me that when you buy fresh flowers, what you should do before you stick them in water with the preservative that they usually give you with them is put them underwater and cut about 1 inch or so off the stems, so there's a fresh cut edge, and then your flowers will last longer. So maybe it's a similar principle here with this too. The other thing that I was told when I had purchased bare root trees, some of the fruit trees that you see here were like that. The experts say that basically after you have them planted, you should cut the top third or so, the first year, cut the top third off of the tree after it's planted. And the reason for that is you want the tree to put its energy into growing roots, not growing branches and leaves, because you need a very good root system, of course, if the tree is going to be healthy and grow. So you cut it back fairly severely after it's planted, so it forces the plant to grow roots rather than to try to expand the branches and leaves that are already above ground. So that might be a similar situation here with the idea of taking all the leaves off except for the top couple. So again, that the organism here, the tree branch, the scion, will put its energy into making roots. So whether that'll work or not, I don't know. It's the first time I've ever done it. If you have better ideas, I'd love to hear them. But we're just, this is a project that came up unexpectedly because of the old apple tree falling over. So we'll see what we get out of it. Thank you for watching, and please subscribe to our channel.